Well, the issues about the future of school boards and trustees is definitely back on the forefront now. This on the back of the education minister musing about the possible future going forward here in the province. So for her perspective this morning, we're joined live by former premier, school board trustee and former education minister, Kathleen Wynne. Good to talk to you this morning about this. We've had Minister Calandra on the show a couple of times talking about the potential fate and future of school boards. What are your concerns here in terms of what you're hearing from the current education minister?
Well, thanks, Nick. Thanks for having me on. And I'm very worried, as are a number of my former colleagues, trustees, MPPs, ministers, that we're going to lose a mechanism for local accountability for parents, for students, for families in communities across the province. And yes, one of the things that trustees do is they help parents and kids navigate the system, but they also help develop policy at the local level. Things like full-day kindergarten and safe schools and eco-schools, Indigenous education. A lot of programs that have been developed at the local level have then been taken by various governments and implemented province-wide. So it's not just about helping people navigate the system. It's also about having that innovation and ingenuity at the local level that has for decades benefited students across the province.
The one thing we've heard a lot from the minister is in terms of spending from different school board trustees. They've highlighted, what appeared to be, at least in the minister's mind and the province's mind, sort of out of control spending on behalf of trustees. What do you make of that argument that the spending is out of control, therefore the boards are kind of out of control?
Well, I think that the minister wants to talk about some very specific instances where individual trustees or boards have made bad decisions. The reality is that this government has underfunded education for 7 years. There's about $1,500 per student, which is hundreds of millions of dollars that has not flowed to school boards, that should have flowed to school boards in order for them to be able to keep up with their costs. So underfunding school boards and then turning around and saying that, one school trustee put too much money into an expense account. That's a distraction, Nick. And I think that we have to pay very close attention to what the real issue is, which is there going to be accountability at the local level? Is there going to be the kind of creativity that we've had in Ontario education for decades that will be lost if we lose that local voice, which is the school trustees?
I can remember covering you back in my early days of career as a school board trustee when I was at another network. I mean, these go back, decades now.
You must have been 5.
Not quite. And I know we both obviously gotten a little bit older here. But as you get a little, older and wiser, as we all do you think at all the school board system does need to be revisited perhaps? Is it too big? Are there changes that could be made logically and with more precision perhaps?
Well, that's exactly what I think we need to do right now. I think that school boards, there's 72 school boards across the province. I think they would welcome a rational review of the role of trustees, a conversation with communities and people who really understand how school boards work. A lot of the people who are throwing opinions around right now, Nick, really have no idea what goes on in a school board. And so, when we have spending by an individual MPP or a councillor that's not good or bad behavior, we don't say let's get rid of city councils. We don't say let's get rid of provincial governments or federal governments. But what we do maybe need to do is look at what is the role, what should change, what can change, but not throw that accountability and, as I say, creativity and innovation out with the bathwater.
It's interesting, too, because as a parent, I've actually never interacted with my school board trustee. I've got 3 kids in the system. But I suppose it's one of those things that you don't know what you have until you actually need it. And if you don't have it there, a lot of people have raised questions to me about, well, how would a government sort of manage this at such a big level, on such a local level? I'm sure that's a concern you share.
Exactly. So, what will happen if the minister gets his way and gets rid of school trustees? What will happen is that MPPs at Queen's Park will have responsibility for the schools in their riding. They will have that direct relationship with families, and it will not be as close or accountable. When I was an MPP, I relied on the school trustee in my area, Nick, to give me information about what was going on in the local schools. Yes, I could visit at school concerts and I could have a sort of superficial relationship relationship with the school, but I really relied on the school trustee to let me know what was going on in education. And if we believe, as I think many of us do, that education is a cornerstone of our democracy, and that it's the most important thing that we can do as a society is educate our children, then we need good information on the table of decision makers. And that's what school trustees have allowed us to have, for over 150 years.
Okay, yeah, I appreciate your input in this conversation, a conversation I'm sure that's going to continue. Former Premier, school trustee, and Education Minister Kathleen Wynne. Have a great day. Thank you.
Thanks, Nick.